There we go. Wow, it sounded different.
Yeah, they changed all the sounds. They changed the logging in sound. They changed the ding. They changed. I don't like it.
I don't either. I'm man. We spent years with the same sounds. I'm gonna have to reverse engineer this.
Yeah.
Fucking Google, man.
So what's up, guys?
Just living the dream.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. Now we figured we'd just kind of dive into some toy chatter, and we'll kind of wrap it around some content that makes sense. Sometimes we go off the beaten path, so why not? But look, this is something that we've talked about, I think, on and off over the years with some of the Christmas episodes we've done, and they're kind of reminiscent about those days, and just things that come up in conversation. And one of the things I was fascinated about talking to you guys is that over the years, it's like you guys have both kept up with certain aspects of our parts of our childhood very well that I haven't, to a degree. Some things I have, but the cool thing about it is, as time has gone on, we get these re-releases of toys that really were like very impactful when we were kids. And so that's kind of kept us into, hey, let's look at vintage toys. Let's look at these cool things. And I know you guys just it always fascinates me, because I'm like, I wish I had half the stuff Rich did, and Bob always has something really cool, like, hey, and I'm like, damn.
You have a wife and kids and a life, though. I don't have any of that, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but still, that's why I get to live vicariously through you guys on that. So
I have a dog and my toys. So,
and that's what I have for now.
Yeah,
but now I'm gonna lose the dog.
But no, it's cool. I don't know where you guys want to kind of start with this, or just pick something at random. But I know, Rich, it's funny. I follow, obviously I follow you on Facebook. We've been friends for a long, long time. But it's really cool to me to see some of the shows and stuff you go to, and you're like, either you're picking up something that's like pretty unique or pretty cool. So like, is there something that you specifically look for? Like, hey, I'm looking for something for a particular series, set, or you're just looking at like, I can redo this. I can what draws you?
I do like repairing stuff. So if I could find something broke that's cheap that I know I can fix, like I got a cheap, this was years ago now, but I got a cheap Knight Rider car from the 80s because it didn't work anymore. It's supposed to play sounds, and I was able to take it apart, and it's just like the toys that played sounds from back then and earlier were little record players. So they have bands that go bad. So I replaced the band and it worked perfectly. So stuff like that's cool. But the guys I do have a couple of friends. They're both older than me. They're both retired. And they both own toy stores. Like I became friends with my dealers, which I guess you're not supposed to do, but it makes it easier to get stuff sometimes. And the one guy is like, you collect anything. And I do. I collect anything that, like that one chick says, if it brings me joy, I'll buy it. So yeah, like you have a background that nobody can see. Unless we're on YouTube. I don't know if we're on YouTube, but you have a robot in the background. That's a Horiyama metal tin robot. And I love them. If I can find them cheap enough, I'll buy them. But they're still kind of expensive. So no, I like space. I like retro futuristic, and I like things that I could either build or hack. Like I bought two. I bought a mint one, and then I found one cheap on Facebook Marketplace of the Gem Roadster car, and that has a little FM radio in the back of it, and they never work anymore. So I took the one out of the beat up one, and I figure I can put Arduino with an MP3 player inside of it, and they could actually play the Gem theme songs and stuff. So stuff like that. That's where I'm. I know, stuff to keep me busy and to keep my. I'm probably on the spectrum, even though I've never been diagnosed, and to keep me focused on stuff.
Dude, let's face it, we're probably all on the spectrum.
I think any geek is somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I used to do like He-Man was one of my favorite things growing up. So then I first started collecting again. I went back, and I now have every He-Man figure that was released in the US. So there's no thing left to go for unless I want to go get the super expensive European ones. And I don't. I have no, like, they were only released in Europe, so I never played with them as a kid. Like, it's Laser-like Skeletor, Laser-like He-Man, and these two giant, weird-looking monster things that were only ever released, like I said, in Europe, Italy. But yeah, so the He-Man stuff's done. So now I look for He-Man merchandise, like tablecloths or cups or shit like that. Like, I just found this cool holographic stickers that they had out when we were kids somewhere for $5. I bought one of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, okay, I like this. This is cool. I like paper products, so if I find magazines or comics or whatever of stuff I like, I'll buy them. But yeah, I recently, this is almost like me going to a meeting. Recently, I bought, like I said, I finished the He-Man one. I'd like G.I. Joes, but I pretty much have all the G.I. Joes I want, except for their big space shuttle thing, which is super expensive and hard to find complete. And I have all the superpower guys. I started to, like, have everything from when we were kids. So I started going backwards. Like, I don't want to spend the money on new stuff, because I'm like, this new stuff isn't as cool as the stuff we had before. So I started going older. Like, if you look over the one shoulder, I have the $6 Million Man doll. They're dolls. Mike Powers, who was G.I. Joe's answer to the $6 Million Man. And then in the back, you can't really see them, but they're Palitoy Action Man, which was the British G.I. Joe. These are the space guys. It's the evil space leader and the force commander you can't see. And then below them are the 1960s James Bond figures from Gilbert, the same people that did like erector sets and those science kits that you used to see in the metal containers. They did James Bond stuff in the 60s. And something called Moon McDare, which is like a space guy. And I have Moon McDare's dog in the spacesuit. I don't have a Moon McDare yet. So I've been getting older and older because the older stuff is just kind of, some of it's cool. Like, I love James Bond. So, like, there's an Odd Job and there's James Bond in his different outfits, and they have Man from U.N.C.L.E. figures. You can see the Battlestar Galactica. I started watching that show. I'm like that. So I went to pick up shit from that. And then this, out of, I was probably in the yard sale, and I picked up a box of Skipper dolls with clothing. And I'm like, I don't know if I like dolls. And then I'm like, well, this is kind of cool because it's like a snapshot in time almost, because they're the fashions that were popular in the time. So you go and look at them, and it's like, especially when you get towards the late 60s, everything's that mod colorful fashion. And Skipper is actually cheaper to buy than Barbie is, I guess, because people just like Barbie better. So you go back and look at the old Skipper fashions, and I mean, they're not cheap. They're still, you're talking like $60 to $150 per complete outfit, depending on what it is. But they're like a Barbie figure or Barbie doll from the time. It's like $300 or $400 depending on the Barbie doll. And this is fascinating because it's something I've never looked at before, so it's something new to learn. And I don't resell. I probably should, but it's nice to learn about this stuff if you ever see it. Like you said, I do go to conventions. I go to flea markets and antique stores. So if you see the stuff there, and it's good to know what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Like, and a couple things you hit on, obviously, like you're in for the love of collecting. Like you said, yes. I probably should resell, but you're in for the love of the
collect,
game. So
I document the stuff I collect so I don't buy more of it. And I like even with the records, when I buy a record, I bring it home, and the first thing I do, maybe while I'm listening to it, usually I get a little stack of them before I do this, but I'll put on a record, and then I'll go through and I'll enter each of the records I have into Discogs. So I have a record, an accounting of what I have going down the thing. I don't like to put down the price I paid of stuff because I don't want to know that in the end. But it's nice to know what I have so I don't buy doubles.
The other thing too, I thought was fascinating too, the skipper conference. I never thought about that, and it makes a lot of sense. It does kind of give, like you said, the snapshot in time. That's cool. I like that look on that. Kind of on the other side of it though, and this is the part I like too of all this. Is I know Bob, I know you're the same way. You do have some things that from whenever you were younger, but you've kind of followed along and kept up with the retro re-release new stuff, and I know both you guys do that as well, better than I do. So like, what speaks to you in that? Like, hey, is this? I mean, it's something I missed. I can't get the original. It's either cost prohibitive or it just doesn't exist, or what draws that to you?
I like giant robots that turn into things.
but not rocks. See, I like
not
the
rocks. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like honestly, if I could get the rocks, I would have the rocks. But no, I've tried to. Initially, when I started out, I was collecting any Transformers I could get my hands on. So I've got a stack of like retro reissues. So I've got like the Seekers, so Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp, that were movie reissues. So they're color. It's the original toy, but colored like the animated style, because the ones that came out when we were kids weren't the same. Like the colors were off from the TV show and from the movie, and so they did a whole series of re-releases where it was the retro toys but colored like they were in the movie. And so I've got a handful of them. The biggest thing, what actually really got me started on collecting Transformers again, was my mom for Christmas one year. My parents gave me, I believe it's Masterpiece Optimus Prime in Japan, but here it was just like 20th anniversary Optimus Prime, that from the 20th anniversary of the movie. It's like maybe it's over a foot tall, I think, or maybe it's a foot tall, but it's like made really, really well, and it's really well designed, and that kind of got me started. And that's pretty much what I collect now. It's just Optimus Prime for the most part, but I do, as I was showing you guys before we started recording, I do have quite a few non-Optimus Prime Transformers, and I do still dabble in the other ones. But I've tried to focus my collecting so that I don't have, just robots everywhere. And I used to collect Funko Pops. I've gotten out of that because they just kind of, I don't know, they were cool when they first happened, but it just kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, this isn't stuff from like when I was little. It's a lot of it wasn't, and it got to the point where I just had so many of them, and they're just in their little boxes, and they just collected dust. And then, like at one point, Tom, I know when you and Danielle had come down to Florida the one time, I think I showed you my closet, and like the whole freaking shelving unit in my closet was all Funko Pops.
Yeah, it was pretty wild to see. I was like, first I was kind of blown away. I'm like, how in the world did you fit this many in here? And then I realized I was like, man, like that's a lot of space. Like it was just crazy.
Yeah. So I've actually gotten I've pared down my collection quite a bit on that. Right now I think it's mostly there's some Wolverine, some Spider-Man, Captain America, and then a few assorted here and there. But so I'm getting out of that and looking to offload those, but sticking with my Transformers. I figure I got to have, if I can have one vice besides video games and booze, it's going to be Transformers.
It's funny. I know, Rich, I don't remember, we talked about this before. I know, Bob, you had to have some of these as a kid, but even Rich has made the comment of dolls. And so our dolls, at least for our sports lovers, were the starting lineup figures. So, I mean, I still have some that are fully packaged, but they're the ones that, and again, the stuff that I have, I always say this is never worth anything other than sentimental value. Just because it likely wasn't worth anything then, and it's probably not worth anything now. So, and unfortunately, the ones that I do have that are probably of value are well opened and well used. So, but yeah, I don't know. I know, Bob, you had to have some starting lineups, right? I mean, those were.
I had some starting lineups. Matter of fact, I still have a Lindros one that I believe you sent me.
Yep, I did.
Yeah, I still have an Eric Lindros. I think I've got a Bobby Clark and a Bernie. I might have a Bernie Perron. No, I don't have a Bernie Perron. I have Bobby Clark, and I believe it's either Bill Barber or it's Dave Schultz, and then I have a Ron Hextall. But I don't think I have any of my football ones anymore, or my baseball ones. I think they all kind of disappeared somewhere along the way.
I've got some bizarre baseball ones that are still in package, like Matt Williams, Garrett Anderson, like ones that like players that aren't, obviously gonna be, lighting the world on fire, so to speak. And of course, the ones I have that are out of package are like, Mike Schmidt and, whatever. The one I do have that's interesting, though, I have my personal favorites, because one of my personal favorite players, I actually have a Jim Eisenreich in package starting lineup, which it's kind of an odd one, right?
Dude, now that you mention those, though, that makes me think somewhere packed up still, which hopefully in the next few months gets unpacked. I have some of the McFarland ones.
Oh, yeah.
I have a Chase Utley. I think I have a Ryan Howard. I know I have a Brian Dawkins. And I know I have a Brian Westbrook.
Those are some nice figures, too.
Yeah. I of course, took them out of the package because I'm a dumbass. But,
I own 2 sports figures. I have the McFarland George Brett. And then
not a surprise.
Dr. J figure that looks like a Mego figure, but I think it's from a black-centered toy company, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Philly.
Wow.
Philly represented. Yeah.
I believe George Brett doesn't surprise me. I was not, but
not expecting me to whip out the Dr. J.
No, I wasn't expecting that. I thought George Brett. I thought you were going to say like Johnny Bench.
If they had a Meadowlark Lemon, I'd be all over that too. Because thanks to Scooby Doo, I love me some Howard and Globe. Only the ones from that period, though. Once you get out of that period, I have no idea who they are. But if it's Curly Neal, Meadowlark Leonard, the other guys, then I'm all over it. Yeah.
So in that same line, though, and this is what it kind of made me think, because again, I don't collect anything now, and it's funny, even my kids never really got anything like that. So like they were never, obviously my son was still big into it, or at the time, at least growing up, Hot Wheels and stuff. So I was able to like pass those down. So I kept a lot of that stuff, but it's not in great shape. I beat them up when I was a kid, and they're well beat up now. So is what it is there. But the figures, going back to that though, the wrestling figures. Surely we all had wrestling figures growing up, all right? I mean, whether it's your LJNs, or I had like the Hasbro plastics from the 80s and 90s, and then I had the Galoob WCWs. Those are the hard rubber ones. But like, you guys surely remember those as a kid, right? I mean, any of that stuff.
I actually still have Hillbilly Jim, big
Nice.
LJN.
Nice.
One of the few things I took from my mom's house after she passed, so I still have that. I remember as a kid, my Aunt Kate and Uncle John gave me Big Boss Man figure for the WWF, the little spring-loaded ones, and he came with his
Hasbro figures. Yeah,
Hasbro. Okay,
yep.
Yeah, he came with the nightstick, and he would whip people with the nightstick. And then they gave me one of the Galoob. I think it was Galoob. It was a little WCW with Arn Anderson.
Yep. Yeah, they were like hard rubber. They weren't posable. They were. I think they're more like akin to like a smaller version of the LJN, maybe.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember distinctly. I was probably 7 or 8 years old over at a friend's house, and we were both big wrestling fans, and I remember him giving me. He had 2 Hulk Hogan's on the Hasbro's, and he's like, "I want this one. You can have this one because I don't like that one as much." Plus, he was a big Ultimate Warrior fan, and I thought, "Wow, that's the coolest thing." My friends give me a figure. Of course, that lit off, and I have about 30 of them somewhere of the old Hasbro ones, like the Rockers and Brutus Beefcake and all these, and I've got the ring, the blue hard plastic. I'm sure the ropes are just shot to this point.
You can buy new ropes for those because I have the LJN one, the big they call it the Fling 'em Sling 'em ring, and I have new ropes for that because
cool.
And I do the LJN ones because those are the ones I had as a kid, like a kid.
Yeah. See, I for whatever reason I missed those, and I just got into the the Hasbro WWF figures and then the Galoob WCWs. I had several of them. And the thing I loved about it too is that, like, I remember, like, even as a kid, I could fantasy book.
Yeah.
Like, I could have my WCW Sting fight Hogan. It was cool. Of course, Hogan could move a little better because of the figure movement, but poor Sting was one position. But no, it was just fun. And moving on a little bit beyond that, I still have a couple of ECW figures, and in fact, years ago I posted one on Twitter and I tagged Tommy Dreamer in it because it was still in the package, and he actually commented back and said, "Look, I'm the man in the box," which I thought that was amazing.
That's great. That's fucking great.
But no, like those were things that, like, I recall like the most, I think, because I remember playing with those maybe at such a pivotal time in my life where I was, like, obviously playing, but like I said, I was fantasy booking even as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, and I was keeping, like, records of matches, and it sounds silly, it does, but, like, as a kid, that's so cool, it's awesome. But so, like, those are the ones, like, I know I have them. They're actually at my dad's, and I need to find. That's like the one thing I can't find is my big plot of wrestling figures. They're probably all just packed in with Castle Grayskull. I still have that, but no. Speaking of which, we can shift gears and kind of weave our way back into the toy conversation. But Masters of the Universe, which we've talked about a little bit in a previous episode here. You guys have both seen the new one. Right, and so
Yes.
What about toys, though? I'm surely there's new toys that have been released with the movie, or no?
There's a lot of new toys that have been released in the movies, and it's weird I haven't, like I said, I'm trying not to buy new stuff, and that includes the new He-Man stuff. But they have, in general, before the movie came out, there was 2 He-Man lines that were ongoing. There were the Origins, I forget what they called the other ones. They're the little ones that looked like He-Man but had better articulation, but, like, had the same little squat bodies and stuff. And then they had Masterverse, which were bigger guys that were more of a Star Wars Black series, like a 6-inch detail line. They were cool. The little guys were cool too, because the little guys, they turned into He-Man versus Turtles, which they mashed them together, and He-Man and WWE, which they mashed together, and just the WWE guys that look like He-Man guys, but they're wrestlers, and they went old school with them. Like, you guys share some of them, like Earthquake and Typhoon, the Great Muta, people like that, as the I think Dusty Rhodes. But anyway, going on with the He-Man movie, they put out, for some reason, 3 lines for that, at least 3. There's a kids line where they're made for play. There's the line where they look like the old school He-Man figures. And then there's the bigger line, that's the Masterverse. I think they're calling it Chronicles now. But then they have vehicles out, but they don't say what thing the vehicles are in. So you don't know what figures go with what vehicles because they named them all weird. But yeah, there's a lot. And we went to the theater to see it with my nephews, and they both enjoyed it. Well, the older one enjoyed it more than the younger one, but the younger one doesn't like anything other than YouTube. So it's hard to get them to sit through anything. Yeah.
That's cool. Bob, what'd you think of that one? The movie?
So I liked it. I saw it in the theater. Me and my dad went, and we both had a good time. And it was a fun movie, especially to see it in the theater. It's one that definitely benefited from that. I watched it at home with Peyton when he got back from Florida, and again, so I think I actually enjoyed it more the second time. I don't know if it was because I was like picking up on things that I missed the first time or what the deal was, but it is something that it loses a little bit not being on the big screen, but it was still really fun to watch the second time around.
And I know we give him a lot of crap. I know you guys have kind of off pod have praised the work of Mr. Skeletor himself.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah, he did an awesome job, and
Yeah.
it's probably the last.
He wasn't terrible in that last Tron movie either.
No.
Ares was pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, we've dogged him over the years.
As a person, he's a douchebag.
Well, he's probably going to jail now. Did you not hear about that?
No, sorry,
No.
this might be breaking news for me. So
Yeah, he apparently likes his women statutory.
oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
10 women spoke out against him in a new documentary for the BBC called Jared Leto, Hollywood's Dark Secret. Dun, dun, dun.
Wow. Yeah.
They
I
were
didn't know that.
all teenagers.
Oh,
Doesn't
boy.
say they were underage. They just says they're teenagers. It could have
Well.
been 18. 18's a teenager.
Is he American or is he English?
He's American.
He's American?
Yeah.
Well,
All I know
I'm not
is
that it
that-
matters. I mean, I'm just saying, BBC releasing, I thought, well, maybe he's over
He was
there.
the worst Joker ever, including that weird dreadlocked one that was in. It's just called The Batman. That was a bad.
Yeah, I think
actually, it
it was
got better. The
just
second
called
season was good. First season was horrible.
Yeah, he's by far the worst. I don't even know where to begin with him. But no, I have not seen the new Masters of the Universe movie.
You don't see him, which I think makes a difference. Like his voice
Yes.
is just good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to watch it. Yeah, no, but I still have some of my original toys growing up. I loved He-Man growing up, and
He-Man's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I that was one of those. I remember seeing the Dolph Lundgren movie in the theater when I was a kid.
Don't go back and watch the cartoon though. The cartoon does not hold up.
Yeah, no, I've seen
it was
clips.
an advertisement.
Yeah, I've
which
seen
you don't
clips here and there,
realize
and
until
it's-
you go back and watch it as an adult. Like, wow, this was bad.
Oh,
There were some good episodes, and it turns out Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, whichever one's the writer, I think it's Paul Dini, wrote some episodes of He-Man that were good. Like that was one of the first things he got to start on.
by the way, Dolph Lundgren is in the new He-Man movie.
I did that. Yeah, I remember you
Yeah.
guys said that before, which is pretty cool. I need to check it out. That's one of those that I obviously didn't keep up with, as time went on, but I was cool to see it like, hey, they made a new movie. So that kind of rekindled that, that's the thing I love about, talking about the toys and stuff. It's like, whether it makes you feel like a kid again or it brings back good memories, that's when life was a little easier. or a lot
That's
easier.
when I was sitting there. And it's like I was watching the original. I saw the 86 one in the theater too, and I'm sure I liked it as a kid. Was I watching? That's what made me feel like I'm a kid again. This is awesome because as I'm watching it, it's like I got that figure, I got that reference, I got that Easter egg. It was good. Yeah, it was fun.
Right. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. I had a list here, not much, but it was kind of like in the line of and things we probably have talked about before. But one of the things that popped in my head, I guess because of talking about wrestling figures and all this, was Muscle Men. You guys remember those, right?
Dude, I had a shit ton of Muscle Men.
Man, I love those things. And the kids drag me around to, I say drag me around, we drag them around, but we go to a lot of antique shops, and there was some, I cannot remember where it was within the last couple of years, and somebody had a bunch of them like sitting in a box, but I was worried that they were repros, fakes type thing. Otherwise I would just pack the box and gone away with it. But Those things are awesome. I love those things. I remember playing a lot with those, kind of akin to wrestling figures, you know?
Yeah, I remember first grade. It was either first grade or it was beginners. For Christmas that year, I got a big giant box of them. Like it was the box and had the windows on the outside, and it had all the little muscle men in their little spots, and you could see them. And I remember having the ones that were the ones that were just pink, but then there were the ones that were all the crazy colors too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so, I had both. Yeah, and yeah, they were cool. You know what? I know this sounds silly because it's not. I think it's just like the way your mind like tends to mesh things together, like that neural net, so to speak. To me, because those muscle men, they some of them were goofy too, because some of them had like Goro from Mortal Kombat. They had like multiple arms. They had like some really crazy, gimmicks and get-ups, and I was like, man, some of these are like Garbage Pail Kids like cards come to life. Like that's what it felt like. It felt like a crazy character in figure form that didn't exist otherwise, really. I mean, there were for toys, really, there were some silly things, but when we were kids, it's not nearly like it is now, where you've got like all sorts of weird stuff. Like then it was like, it really wasn't until you got like into like maybe the Ninja Turtles, you started seeing some silly things, or you really had to dive deep.
Toxic Crusaders.
Yeah. Like you really had to go deep in stuff that wasn't like ultra popular, to find the weird stuff. That's what I loved about the Musclemen, because they were off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's where I learned about what an ICBM was. I knew what an ICBM was, but that's where I first heard ICBM. I remember specifically having a muscle guy that said ICBM on its chest.
See, it's so cool.
They were based off of some kind of anime, I think, where it was a wrestling league.
Yeah, it was an anime, and it was one of the guys in it. It was based on Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Hey, R.I.P. Dory Funk, by the way. So, I mean, and Terry, he's been gone for a while, but
Yeah.
Anytime you want to relive Terry Funk, you can watch. I'm having a brain fart. It's that one with the other dead guy where he lives in a lake and he kicks people in the head.
Old Greg?
No.
You want to drink Bailey's from a shoe?
Be nice until you can't be nice. Roadhouse.
Roadhouse, yeah.
Roadhouse.
Yeah. The other guy that's dead. I love how
I can't think of his name either.
Patrick Swayze?
Thank you. Yeah, him.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have to redo Roadhouse, except it's not Patrick Swayze, it's Old Greg.
Roadhouse.
Old Greg.
Old Greg. Oh man, so good.
We did that thing with that guy. We ripped out his throat. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that they did or do you remember that they did a revival of Muscle in the 2000s?
No.
Late 90s. I think it was the late 90s, early 2000s or something like that. It was called Ultimate Muscle, and there was actually a GameCube game.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you play or own this game?
I did not. Not. Apparently, it was terrible. But,
well, I mean,
which was one of the characters in it, Terry Bull.
Oh, interesting.
See what I did there?
I see. I like it.
It actually stood for, by the way, I just lost it. Son of a bitch. Like millions of unusual small creatures lurking everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was an acronym.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of them, but you see them at conventions. You see not so much the figures, but like they have this little ring that you can play with like a little joystick. Or the big thing everybody wants to get is you can get a belt where you can put the figures you like in the belt.
Yeah. There was an NES game of it, but that was...
It was horrible. It was a bad game.
It was super duper bad.
Maybe it's one of the ones where you need to read the manual, but I could never, this sucks. Yeah.
The I did want to ask you guys too, growing up anyway, and I think we'd be remiss, and this could be a whole nother episode within and of itself. Legos, and they're nowhere near like they are now. Like let's not kid ourselves here. Legos when we were kids were nothing near where that's gone now. Because where it's gone now is theme parks and stores and all sorts of stuff. But
they weren't licensed when we were kids, and I think that made the big difference. Like they did that first license with Star Wars, and I think they were, I don't want to say they were failing, but like they weren't doing great. And then they licensed Star Wars, and they're like, oh, we're worth billions now again.
Yeah, it's funny. Like my son, I think it was, and I can't remember his birthday, Christmas, whatever, this past year. But one of his big gifts was the Krusty Burger Lego.
Oh,
and I just thought it was the funniest thing because it's like, first of all, I love it, Simpsons, Krusty Burger, but it's funny because he builds it and then he'll have a little fun with it. Like he pulled a Lisa figure and like put a little sign in her hand. It's like no meat, like it's which is awesome. I love it. I love the creativity. But Legos when we were kids, like you said, no license. You had like the universes, Space
Pirate Town and Castle.
Yeah, you had the universes, but that was about it, and so I had a handful of Legos, but what I had more of, I had the Fisher-Price, the Construx.
Yes.
Okay.
Those were awesome. They were like the beam. Were you familiar with those, Rich? The beam.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I didn't have
those. Man, I could have fun with. I could have fun with those now. Bob, you remember those?
I had a ton of Legos, but I did have a bunch of Constructs too. And Popoids.
Popoids?
Popoids.
Like Popoids?
Yes.
What is that? What in the world? All right, now yeah. Oh, okay. I've seen these, but I never knew what they were.
Yeah. So Popoids were like, so for people listening, they were kind of like these expandable plastic tubes, and then they would plug into either other expandable plastic tubes or they would plug into these hard plastic like structure things, and you could build things out of them. And they were really weird, but they were fun.
It's like a plastic Tinker toy, but like movable, right?
Yes. And you could bend them and shape them and stretch them, and they were fun.
That's pretty cool. I've seen those, but I never heard that word. Cool. Yeah, I missed that one.
Legos as a kid, but I had a friend down the street who had one of those platforms in his basement with like a whole city set up, like the airport and the houses and stuff like that, the police station and shit. I had weird stuff. I had erector sets. I had a couple of them because my dad was a nerd too, so I got nerd stuff. And Capsella, which is another one that nobody's ever heard of, but they're like
I remember that.
plastic bubbles that you stick together, and some of them are motorized, so you could like make helicopters or little cars or shit out of them.
Capsella toy. Oh yeah.
I always wanted Capsella, but I never got it.
Oh, I remember. I never had that, but I remember those. Oh wait, you know what? No, I never had that. I played with one of those sets before though.
When I became a computer guy, like I, not counting help desk or tech support, but like one of my first QA jobs, we would do overnight releases where you had to be around at like 2:00, and it would be like an hour or two while you were doing the deployment. And being a QA guy, my work didn't happen till the end of that, but I was online with them for the whole 2 hours or whatever. So that's when I started buying Lego sets and putting them together while I was waiting for those guys to do that. And my problem was, after I built the Lego set, what do I do with this? So I used to have them before these toys that were up here now. A lot of these were in my basement, but my basement flooded when I first moved into the house. So some things came upstairs and never made it back downstairs. So these were all Legos behind me that I had built during that stuff. Like I had, you can almost see it over there, but I had the Simpsons house, and I wish I bought
the garage.
I wish I bought the Quickie Mart, because When that retired, it like jumped in price. Like, son of a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing too, and that's some part that we've touched on. It's like, hey, are you doing this for the love of the game or collecting? But yeah, some of the like stuff, even modern stuff. Quickie Mart released what 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, whatever it was. And it's
the Ghostbusters Firehouse too. And I remember standing in line the day that was released, so I would be able to get that. And it was more money than I should have spent at the time. But that's one that's gone up because it retired. And that's what Lego does. They'll retire the ones that stop selling after a while. And then if you want to buy them, they're like 3 or 4 times the price, depending on how popular they were.
Yeah. And that's the game they play. And too, the other thing I've noticed, and mainly because my kids have asked about them, are the series that like go out of print, and then much like baseball cards, the blind bags, especially the licensed ones, because Simpsons or Lego Movie, you try seriously go on eBay. I mean, and look, the stuff that was like $4 or $5 back when it released is now 15 or 20 or more a shot for a figure.
Both nephews, but I told you the one that just basically gets everything off of YouTube. That's one of his favorite things to watch is blind bag unboxing things. Like they love going to the kids, love going to Five and Below and just picking out blind boxes and opening them. And I'd rather, if there's something I like in a blind box, I'd rather just go on eBay and okay, this is the one I want. I don't get the whole, because I don't have the like. I guess if you're a kid and you go to school and you can actually trade for the ones that you want, that's one thing. But like, I don't go, even if I went into the office now, nobody's going to be buying the same shit I buy, so it's hard to.
No, but you're not wrong. It's Bob and I have talked this to no end, and we all know people that are like into collecting whatever, but that's where like the trading card market's gone the same way. It's ridiculous. It's like, hey, I'm gonna buy this whatever $1,000 box of cards, record myself opening it. That's what the people like to watch, kids or adults or whatever. I mean, it's I watch them sometimes. Like I just want to see what these people get. But the market's gotten so out of control and so out of hand that it's like, well, yeah, if I find something that I really want, I'm just gonna hop on eBay. Like I'm not. But I do like the thrill of the chase too. It's still fun. That's the other part of it, and I think that goes hand in hand with whether it's the blind bag toys or
it's like a lottery ticket. You're gambling. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
It's the same feeling. Yeah.
My mom always said this to me. She wasn't much of a gambler, but she would occasionally go down Atlantic City, and her thing was it's entertainment.
Yeah.
I like to go to a movie. I like to open a pack of cards. I like to go to a concert. I like to build a Lego set. It's your entertainment. There should be no, that's what you enjoy. There should be absolutely no dogging that from anyone because we all like different stuff, right? I mean, I just wish I had more time to dive in, like, on some of the things that you guys have. Like like Bob, like whenever you showed us your Funko stuff, like I'm not a Funko person, but every single time I'm in a store that has them, I find myself looking at them because I like to look and see, they have this, and they have this wrestler, and they have this music artist, and they have,
that's the one.
It's so
cool,
yeah.
The one cool thing I like to make, I don't have a lot of Funko Pops either, but I do have some. It's because they have the license for everything. There's some things that have no other merchandise except for Funko Pop. But now the problem with Funko, this is what I do. Like I said, I'm not going to, like, if that's what you're thinking, that's cool. But like, if you take 10 Funko Pops out of their boxes and mix them up and say, what's this guy in the trench coat from? Some of them you're never going to guess unless they have the box with them, because they all have, which is the idea. I mean, they're all supposed to look similar because it's what they're going for. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, are they, Bob? You might know this. Are they branded out of the box with anything?
No, they're. It's just whatever it is. You gotta, like Rich said, if it's you got several different trench coat wearing characters.
Yeah,
and
they're like I went
they
with that
look
one
the
because they
same.
make Godfather figure or Godfather pops, and if you look at the Godfather pops, except for Don Corleone, they're like, this is guy in suit 1, this is guy in suit 2, this one's got red hair, so it's probably Tom Fagan.
So that's where AI would come in super handy, basically, like
Yes.
scan it and yeah. So that's a good use for AI. Is
Yeah.
identifying your Funko Pops. We finally found a good use for it.
About damn time.
Hey, any other toy conversation though before we put a bow on this one, because I've about covered everything I wanted to chat about. I don't know if there's anything that you guys wanted to kind of throw in there, or things that you are finding out or coming out. That's it. That was one other thing, and you kind of touched on it. The crossover stuff, turtle transformers and these sorts of things. Like I know Rich, you kind of talked about your affinity for some of it, but like, do you see is there a line where it's a little too far?
Before the Turtles license, I think it's Mattel just bought it, so they're making turtle figures now. So anything that was Turtles before that are gone. But Playmates, towards the end of their run with it, were releasing Turtles with everything, and there was Turtles X Stranger Things, where it's like, here's a turtle figure that we've been putting out for at least 7 years, and then we're going to package it with a new Stranger Things figure and say it's Turtles X Stranger Things. And that's the one I didn't quite understand. But what just came out, and I said I'm not buying new toys. I'm still trying not to buy new toys. But there's a Turtles X G.I. Joe line that's out now, and they have a Krang mixed with Destro. And I'm like, I think I want that. I think.
Bob, what about you? Is there a line that's too far on some of that crossover, or just new stuff?
The only thing that's really put off to me is the pricing anymore. Like I got the Missing Link Optimus Prime because I really, Optimus Prime is what I collect. But there's some of the Missing Link ones where they're like, I mean, the Missing Link Optimus Prime, I think I paid $85 for it when it came out. But the new one, like some of them come out and they're like $200. And it's like, no, I ain't paying $200 for a Transformer. It's not doing it. And that's the line to me is when it gets so pricey. But to each their own. If you got the money,
yeah, that's to each their own. And like I said, bring up the trading card conversation. You're kind of in the same boat.
The one good, well, not good. I like them sometimes, but the Playmates Turtles figures, like they did the Turtles G.I. Joe. There's a Turtles Godzilla line that's out too. They're still $14.99 a figure, which is nice. a decent price.
Yeah. I could see things like that. Hey, 10, 15, $20. I get it. And I mean, the stuff I see though, like Bobby, you're talking about like $80, $100, $200. It's more of a collector's piece, I guess.
Well, going back to they have those. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them now. The Transformers that transform by themselves. They're like $2,000, $25,000. There's some insane thing like that, and they keep releasing them.
They're
like
it's ridiculous.
Huge, and there's a Grimlock, an Optimus Prime, and I know there's more than that, but I don't know who the other.
They did Megatron,
but he doesn't turn into a gun though, right? Is he a tank?
No, he turns into a tank.
Yeah, it's dumb.
They made Dead Optimus Prime.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The toy that we got as a kid, that was a gun, that was Megatron. That was actually a Transformer based on the Man from U.N.C.L.E. That was the guns that they carried with all those like weird holster, like the kit that you plugged into them, the silencer, the extender, a lot of other stuff.
Well, this is it's been a fun one. I do want to ask one last question. And I'll see. I'll put you guys on the spot. If there's one toy that you can remember from your childhood, and we'll use that term loosely, basically you through the time you graduated high school, that you don't have now, but you wish you could just kind of stick your hand back in time and grab. Anything come to mind?
I wish I hadn't gotten rid of my Ultra Magnus, which, for those of you who do know Transformers or who don't know Transformers, he was basically like a clone of Optimus Prime. It was like a white version of the figure, and then he combined with his trailer to form Ultra Magnus. And I remember getting him, and I don't know what happened to him, but I wish I still had it. Either that, or I'd say my Masters of the Universe stuff. I've got rid of all of that. I think I might have sold my Castle Grayskull at a yard sale when I lived in Miffleton.
Rich, what about you? Anything that you wish you had, or I mean, you might actually have it, or just
I've been lucky enough to be able to buy back a lot of this stuff that I've wanted, and the stuff that I didn't have that I wanted. But there are some things that I just either haven't found in a condition that I want or whatever, and that's a lot of the Mad Scientist figures or toys. They're not figures; they're more like play sets. The Dissected Alien is something that I still want to find, but I want to find it mitten box. And then there was one where it came with a little skeleton of a monster or whatever, and you plug the little corners and shit on it, and then cover it with this Play-Doh like flesh, and then drop it in a tank, and the flesh would dissolve off of it. And yeah, so they have the Mad Scientist stuff. And then there was also what they called things. They may have been called things. They're little games that were motorized that like you pushed a little button on, and one was like a knight, and you had to push the button to pop them up to lance these rings to catch rings. Yeah, just little things like that.
You know what I actually always wanted and never got? Battle Beat.
I never had a lot of them either.
Yeah, I didn't either. The one thing that comes to mind, I'm thinking like really young, like toys that I remember playing a lot of. I still have some of them, but they're disjointed in pieces, are Centurions. And I know I can go on eBay and spend, whatever, but I'm not going to. That's what I played with when I was 4 or 5 years old, just really hardcore. My original fighting, they were cool, they were big, they were just pieces upon pieces. But yeah, I don't have little pieces here and there. I don't have anything left anymore that's complete. I wish I had what I had then. I could pick that off now, just because I remember the joy of that. I think that was like even well prior to me playing with wrestling figures. You know what I mean? Like that's what I played with. Like
that just put something else in my head. The Centurions I went back and got before they got expensive. But I do have the Centurions. But what I didn't have as a kid, but kind of always wanted, were the Inhumanoids. And not so much the little figures, but they had 3 giant, like 2 foot tall monsters. And one of them had this bird skull and like this chest that would open up and hold creatures inside. It was called Decompose, D''compose. Like they're awesome. So you don't see that. That's something that I don't have because I've never seen it. Even at conventions, I've never seen these things.
Tom, you reminded me of Centurions. They were freaking awesome. But that also, for some reason, unlocked 2 other ones for me. One of them being Mask. I wish I still had all my Mask toys. But do you guys remember? And I can't remember what they were called. I almost want to say they were called Skyriders, but they were little like G.I. Joe size figures, and they came with it was a string essentially.
I know what you're talking about.
And they had these little devices to go across them, almost like zip lines.
Sky Commanders?
No, were they Air Raiders?
Sky Raiders.
Sky Raiders.
Sky Raiders. There we go.
Sky Raiders.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
I never had any of them, but they were cool.
Yeah, oh shit. Yeah, I remember those now.
There was also computer warriors, which were like mask size things, but they were little guys that lived inside of your like one was a soccer trophy that opened up into one of their bases, and they had like a Coke can. I think it was a Pepsi can actually, and stuff. Like they were cool too. I don't have any of them now, but I had a couple of them as a kid.
Yeah, that's a cool. Go ahead.
Nintendo trophies. They were called trophies, but they were a little. It was like a little plastic base with. They had Mario, Punch Out, and Zelda ones, where you could write this high score they got on them. But they were able to just pose as a PVC figures that were really cool. I had one of them as a kid, and they're another thing that I don't see a lot now. And if I saw them, I would pick them up immediately.
Yeah, not a toy, but it's really funny. My son uses my Super Mario Brothers comforter to sleep with. The one I had when I was a kid. It's still cool. It's not in excellent shape, but it's a blanket, and it's old. No, this is fun. We definitely. My buddy Brian is supposed to hop on with us, and he's got a pretty cool Star Wars stuff. We'll get his take on some point, but
one of those things that took me forever to find again that I had as a kid and wanted was I had this Nintendo TV cart where you put your TV on top of it, had Mario on the side, and it took me. I had a save search on eBay. I had some save searches on Craigslist because that's how long ago this was, and I finally found one a couple of years ago. I was like, nice. Yes, it took forever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember. I definitely remember you having that.
I know you say it's local pickup, but will you ship this? And the guy said, yeah, I don't care as long as you're going to pay for the shipping. I said, yes, just make sure you take it somewhere that packages it good. Because I wondered, that was one of the things like, I need this again.
Hey, we can do a whole episode on that too. We can tease that one out. People that don't ship stuff well. I saw a look on your face, Bob. You're like, what the?
this guy packaged it okay, but I live in it's Eagleville, Norristown, PA, right next to King of Prussia. And I bought something from another part of PA, and I forget where exactly it was in PA. But this thing I bought on eBay went from PA to North Carolina to Philadelphia to Delaware to Ardmore, PA, to Elk something, PA, back to Philadelphia, and then finally made it to the Norristown post office. I'm like, Jesus, this is a guy I bought from before. It usually takes 2 days to get to the house, and this took a week and a half. Like, how the hell did it wind up in North Carolina?